back to another video of Legend of Runeterra. This time we are continuing the ranking of all champions in Legend of Runeterra based on region. This time we are going with Noxus. So we are going to start with Annie. With Annie, she's a 1 mana cost champion with 0 damage and 2 health. Once she attacks, she deals 2 to her blocker. If it is dead or gone, even if it's recalled or stunned, it will deal 2 to the enemy Nexus instead. To level up, she needs to see you play 6 fast spells, slow spells or skills, and when she level up, she creates Tibbers in hand. Tibbers is a fearsome unit that costs 6 mana. When played, it will stun an enemy, then deal 2 to all stunned or damaged enemy. For Annie, when she attacks, she deals 3 to her blocker and stun it and stun. And if it is dead or gone, it will deal 3 to the enemy Nexus. So this will basically guarantee she will not take damage while attacking from her blocker. For me, Annie is a perfect carry because she alone can, she's very cheap, can deal decent damage, and she can on her own give the effect that she needs. So as long as she can be played 6 times, she can evolve and will already have Tibbers in hand when that happens. Moving on, we have Samira. Samira is a 2 mana cost unit with quick attack, means she when attacking, she strikes before her blocker. When summoned or strike, she will create a flare in hand if you don't have one. Flare will allow her to deal 1 to the enemy Nexus or give allied Samira challenger this round. For her to evolve, she needs to see you play 6 cards. It resets when you start a round with the attack token. So she needs to play 6 cards in 1 round. Once this happened, when summoned or strike, she creates a 0 cost flare. So instead of 1, it's 0, not a big deal. But when you play 6 cards, rally, and reset when you start a round with the attack token. So as long as you can play 6 cards in 1 round, you can always attack or have special effect. But for that to happen, you need to have a deck made of low mana cost cards in order to spam them, or to have coin in hand, which make Samira depending a lot on her deck. So Draven is a 3 mana cost unit with quick attack, when attacking, he strikes before his blocker. When summoned or strike, he creates a spinning axe in hand, which is a 0 mana cost unit, which to play, discard 1 card, remove it from hand. It will not affect, it will not trigger last breath effect, and give an ally +1 attack for this round. To level up, he needs to strike with 2 or plus total spinning axes, meaning you need to put 2 spinning axes on him before he attacks for him to evolve. But once he evolved, now he added Overwhelm, which excess damage I deal to my blocker is dealt to the enemy Nexus. And now when summon or strike, create 2 spinning axes. Usually you use 1 and discard the other. And for me, Draven is a perfect carry. He alone can generate his own evolution path and will give you +1 attack every round he's attacking. And you don't really need to discard that many cards for him to show his effect. Plus, he's quite cheap. Now we have Katarina. So So Katarina is a 3 mana cost unit with quick attack, mean when attacking she strikes before her blocker, and when summoned create a fleeting blade's edge in hand. Fleeting mean at the end of the round it is discarded. Blade Edge is a 1 mana cost unit spell, a fast spell that deal 1 to anything. For Katarina to evolve, she needs to strike once, and when I level up, she's recalled. When she level up, when summoned again, she rally and create a fleeting edge, a fleeting blade's edge in hand. It costs 0 this time, and every time she strike, she get to recall. So she's cheap card. Her evolution is easy, same as Draven and Annie, but she for you to spam her, it will consume a lot of mana. So it will not let other units or other spells be used in conjunction with her, which make her depend on her deck. So you need either a way to get more mana like coin or getting empty mana from Freljord, or else it's a bit of a waste of time since you cannot use it defensively, only aggressively. So now we have LeBlanc. LeBlanc is a 3 mana cost unit with quick attack, which means when attacking she strikes before her blocker. For her to evolve, she needs to see you deal 15 damage. See means that it needs to be on the field, and when she level up, she create a mirror's image in hand, which allow you to pick an ally, summon an exact ephemeral copy of it. It is a 2 mana cost spell that is slow. An exact copy means it will have the same keywords, attack, defense, all of that. Ephemeral means it will die at the end of the round. So if it has last breath effect, it will be triggered. Now when LeBlanc attack, she becomes a 6 damage unit with 3 HP. Each time you deal 15 damage, create a mirror image in hand. If you already have one, reduce its cost by 1. So LeBlanc is another perfect champion. Sorry, another champion that depends on deck. If you have a very high damage units or units that need special effects like last breath or life steal or something like that, it will maximize her effect. On her own, she mostly don't survive the game enough for her to show her effect. Now we have a Riven. Riven is a 3 mana cost unit. When summoned, if you have the attack token or when you gain the attack token, you can reforge. Reforge will allow you to create a random blade fragment still needed to restore the blade. Once you played all 3, create the blade of the exile. Blade fragments are either a glinting blade fragment, which is a 1 mana cost focus spell, which will give you +2 damage for 1 round, or heavy blade fragment, which will give you overwhelm this round, or keen blade fragment, which will give you quick attack. Once you use all 3, you will get blade of the exile, which will give you all the effect permanently. Once you use blade of the exile, she evolves, and now when summoned, if you have the attack token or when you gain the attack token, reforge. Each round, the first time you increase her power, increase it by twice the amount. So if you use, for example, a glinting blade fragment, it will get +4 instead of +2. And for me, Riven is an okay champion. Or she is self-sufficient, but the bonus is also not bad actually. The only reason I am debating between the two is that it will take 3 rounds of you attacking, so 6 rounds in total for her to evolve. same as Annie, but she is useless if you don't already have the attack, the effect, and you cannot make her survive attacking. I think she's good as well. I take it back, she's good. Okay, I am going to skip Rumble since he's a Yordle and I want to do all the Yordles together. Let's go to Swain. Swain is a 5 mana cost unit with Fearsome, which means can only be blocked by enemy with 3 or more power. When you do a Nexus strike, which means affected when units strike the enemy Nexus. This doesn't mean you need to strike directly the enemy Nexus. If you have Overwhelm, this is considered as a Nexus strike. He will deal 3 to the enemy Nexus. So if I attack the Nexus directly, it is 6 damage. Once you deal 12 non-combat damage all game, so either by spells or effects or abilities or anything like that, Swain will, which include also his own ability, Swain will evolve, and now when you deal non-combat damage to the enemy Nexus, he will stun the strongest back row enemy, and Nexus strike will deal 3 to all enemies and the enemy Nexus, and he get Overwhelm as well. So as long as you deal 1 damage to the enemy Nexus, you can deal 3 to everything that the enemy has, which is quite powerful, but it's only effective if you have a deck that has a lot of spells or skills that can deal non-combat damage. Next we have Vladimir. Vladimir is a 5 mana cost unit with Fearsome, so can only be blocked with enemy with 3 or more power. Every time he attacks, for each attacking ally on his right, deal 1 to it and 1 to the enemy Nexus. So you have potentially 5 damage to the enemy Nexus just from attacking. If you do that and the enemy and the allies survive, so you have 5 allies that survive damage, he will evolve. Now he will gain regeneration, which heal him fully at the end of each round. Now each time you attack, for each attacking ally in my right, he will deal 1 to it and drain 1 from the enemy Nexus. So drain means he will deal 1 to the enemy Nexus and heal your Nexus for the same amount, which is quite powerful, but he is dependent on his deck. If you have a deck that can survive the damage and can be played defensively, Vladimir alone can win you the game. But if you have a lot of weak allies that will die quite easily, then Vladimir is basically making you worse than you are. Okay, last two, we have Darius, a 6 mana cost unit with Overwhelm, so excess damage he deals to the blocker is dealt to the enemy Nexus. Once you see the enemy Nexus has half of its starting health or less, so if you start with 20, you need to have 10 or less, he will evolve, and now he will switch from 6 damage to 10 damage and 7 health, and that's it. For me, Darius is don't bother. For a 6 mana cost unit to only have the effect of having 10 damage is really not that great. There are quite easier ways to get Overwhelm and a lot of damage, including LeBlanc, including Riven, Draven, so it's really not worth it. Don't bother, it's not useless, it's just not that great. Finally we have Scion. Scion is a 7 mana cost unit with Overwhelm. Excess damage I deal to my blocker is dealt to the enemy Nexus. When I am discarded, grant your strongest ally Overwhelm and place me in your deck. I have +1 for each card you have discarded this game with a maximum of 7. Once you discarded or summoned 35 plus power from all units all game. He will evolve, and now he have last breath, which means when Scion die, he will summon Scion returned, an overwhelm unit with ephemeral effect, and when summoned he would rally. So when Scion die, he will rally, and when discarded, grant your strongest ally overwhelm and place me in your deck instead of completely discarded. So he starts with 7 mana, and his maximum damage as a normal unit is 9, and you need to discard quite a few cards for him to have 9 damage instead of the same damage, but when he dies you get to rally. This is such a roundabout way to get this effect, it's basically not worth it. There are quite a lot cheaper cards that can reach 9 damage and rally and summon others when they die, but it's really not worth it. It's basically trolling in the current state of the game. So hope you like the video. If you do, please share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and put in the comment what is your take on Noxus cards. See ya, bye.